So this video is from my son in case he's ever curious about his ancestors. So I will start first talking about my grandma on my mom's side, and then see if the video gets too long. I'm going to divide this and make a series of videos about each family member that I want to tell a little story about them. So my grandma on my mom's side was Russian by nationality. She was very interesting person, very bright mind, very good personality, cheerful, told stories, loved to laugh and funny stories. And she just liked talking and telling about different things that she read about something, or something amusing happened in life, in her childhood. And that's when she actually told me that her parents were old believers. And the Old Believers is a branch of Christianity. It's a little bit different from the mainstream of Christianity in Russia. Well, first, I only knew a little detail about that I knew that Old Believers would use 2 fingers, and the New Believers would use like three fingers. But there's a whole lot about Old Believers to know. They were different. They were more disciplined. They had more education. They were more about educating their children, more about bringing them up traditionally, with traditional values and in a good way. In respect to parents and ancestors, and in respect to religion and the Bible. Everybody had to wash their hands before they even touched the Bible to read it. Her father was a very interesting person, very intelligent. And she said that back then, during Stalin's era, unfortunately, the best people were taken to concentration camps for just speaking up, for just saying something that was on their mind, and everybody around them was trying to bring them down and tell on them to the authorities. So that's how he unfortunately got taken to one of those concentration camps. And the children were also mistreated because they were considered children of enemies of the state. So I remember my poor grandma was always carrying that paper of rehabilitation after Khrushchev rehabilitated all those enemies of the state children and gave them a little piece of paper saying that they are not enemies anymore. That little piece of paper was so old, it was falling apart, and she was still carrying it with her. All the like she didn't really need it anymore, but she would never just let go. That's how stressful the life was back there. Like nobody knew what else this political leaders would come up with. Like now, they have something like that too. It's called differently. It's called a foreign agent now, but people have sanctions against them, just like back then. Well, not just as bad, but still. So, about her religious beliefs. So, since communists didn't really encourage religion, she was not really religious. She never went to church. But she told stories, and she, for some reason, told me that it's very important when you grow up to have your husband in the same religion as you. Because, see, like, Grandpa is different religion, and from time to time he would tell me, oh, you guys old believers. So for her, it was very important. So nobody can tell me anything about my religion, that my religion is wrong. So she was trying to protect me, my little grandma. So cute. She was always eager to learn. I always remember her having a new hobby. She was, one vacation, I come to her, she's making this, she was making this bags, handmade bags, and giving them away to everybody. Everybody had a bag made by her. Then she always had flowers in her front yard. It was just always something. Then she was solving cross puzzles, crosswords. It was always something new that she would get interested in. Very curious, very bright mind, and very attentive to everybody. She knew who liked what, like she knew what everybody's favorite dish was, and she would cook it for everybody. Like at one point I liked something, she would make it for me. And she was attentive. Like once I fell, like I went to play with my mates, and I fell, and I came back home, and I didn't want to show her that I'm hurting because I didn't want to upset her, or I didn't how children do this all the time, which that's what I did. I just didn't tell her because I didn't want to upset anybody. And I didn't really feel like eating, and she looked at me and she said, I know you liked what I cooked for you. She cooked some macaroni for me. Like, I liked the way she cooked macaroni. And I always liked, back then, during that vacation, she would make it a lot for me because I was really into those macaroni, the way she was making it. So she made them, and I didn't eat, I didn't have appetite. I just went to just go and lay down, and because I was kind of hurting. I don't remember what I hit. I think I hit my shoulder somehow, my forearm, my arm and my shoulder. I think I fell like that kind of from the swings. She's like, oh, I know you like it. Why won't you eat? And I was just quiet. And I'm like, it's okay, it's okay. But yeah, she was very warm. And she would store all my little drawings. Like, I was drawing something. I was just like 5 years old, drawing something, scribbling something, and she would just store them. And then I would come back to her during like next summer, and she would show them to me. See, I kept all your drawings. Look, you were so good. And the way she laughed, she would tell a story, and she could laugh at herself. She could really tell a story, and not everybody can do that. She would laugh at herself, how silly she was or something. She was and her laugh was so contagious. Like, for example, she didn't understand youngsters ancestors' slang, and her son-in-law, my uncle, said something, used the slang word, and she misunderstood it. She tried. He said something like it was in Russian. So in Russian it sounded like она балдеет, and it means literally she's high. And my mom, my grandma said, "Oh yeah, I was also high." And we were just laughing. Like, what? And we were explaining to her that this is just a slang word. Like that means that somebody feels good, and you say, "Oh, he's high," and she thought that somebody who is drowsy is balde, drowsy, but it's really it's high. Like, and she said that she was high, and she felt that, yeah, I was so tired, I was so drowsy. But in reality, she said, yeah, the other day I was also high. And after we explained it, she was laughing. So cute. And then there were also sad stories because she went to war. She was a young girl, young girl. I think she was either in her 20s, I don't know, when the World War II was going on. So she went to the army, and she actually went through the whole Russia and reached Berlin. So it was not pretty what was going on. And she told all those stories. And some stories I don't even want to repeat because it was just too ugly. The war is really ugly. And especially for a young girl, you know, who wants to be pretty, like every girl wanted to be pretty, and they wanted to have clean hair and look nice, and it was just impossible. The war was just all death, blood, dirt, and ugliness. Nothing good about it. And when they reached Berlin, she said that there were no people left. They all ran away into the woods. The soldiers entered the houses out of curiosity to see how Germans lived, to see how they handled their houses, and they were allowed to take things as souvenirs from other people's houses. That was the time. That's how the times were back then, how the morals were. There were no morals. It was so, the things that she would tell that was happening, it was something horrible. So since I want this video to be for my son, when he grows up and wants to know about his ancestors, I don't want to stress him with all those details. So let's leave it at that. Let's just say that it was not pretty. And then time passed and the war ended, and then the Cold War started. So that generation of people who went through the World War II, they were very aware of a war. And during Cold War, the economics in USSR was so poor that we couldn't even buy butter. There was no butter in stores. And I really wanted some butter. I really missed the butter on my bread. And once I told my grandma, I said, this is ridiculous. Like, you can't even go to the store and buy a piece of butter. And she said, well, at least we don't have war. At least there's peace in the world. And I thought, what's the connection? Like, what is she talking about? How is peace connected to the deficit of butter in stores? But what she meant was that all the budget was going into missiles and nothing was going to people. So that was the Cold War in USSR. It was different for Americans. Americans were just, the Cold War for Americans was like this. They went through training how to hide from nuclear bomb. And Russia was how to hide from a nuclear bomb, from radiation, and there's nothing to buy in the store, no normal products. You just had to to buy whatever they were giving, whatever they were putting on those store shelves. Not what you want. It was not your choice. It was what they could provide for people, because the majority of money was going into weapons. So that was about Cold War. Yeah, so my grandma was very complicated person. Like, she knew a lot. She was willing to learn more. And she had a lot of stories to tell. She liked traveling. It was her initiative for us with Grandpa and with me. The three of us went to Russia from Moldova. We lived in Moldova. And then she took me to Russia to show where she's coming from. And we visited several villages. And in one of the villages, there was this harmonica. And they found this harmonica, and my grandpa was playing, took it, started playing as if the last time he played was yesterday. I mean, like, his fingers just remembered how to play the songs. And my grandma started singing as if she was always singing. And it was the first time that I saw them do that. Because back in Moldova, my grandpa had an accordion. And he would just play something, weird compositions that he said that he made up. That he was a great composer for fun. And he was just like being goofy and playing that accordion. And he didn't have harmonica back in Moldova. Because I don't know, maybe they didn't make them, I don't know. But when we went to visit the relatives in Russia, they found this harmonica, and he started playing, and she started singing. Oh my gosh! And those little songs, they're like folk Russian songs, and they were funny songs. I was laughing. They were so funny. I mean, they both were funny, but I will tell about him probably in my next video because I don't want to make them too long. So I guess that's it. I guess I will continue in a different video. But I hope that my son would have like a feeling, at least a little feeling about my grandma's personality. All right, thanks a lot for listening.